Tonight we're going to work with a couple of cripples. We've had a chance to see some nymphs, we've had a chance to see a couple of emergers, and tonight the next progression in the life of the bug is going to be a possibility of a cripple. So I chose two. One is called the Last Chance Cripple, and one is called the Quigley's Cripple. And both very famous and fairly easy flies to do. So the first one's the Last Chance Cripple, and I'm just going to lay my thread bed.
Or hold off until.
And all I'm using is a dry fly hook. This happens to be an Allen hook, but any dry fly hook you want will work. Okay, so I have my bed laid down. And the next thing I want to do is put a little shuck on it, because this fly it's supposed to give a little shuck, stuck in the shuck look. So we're going to put shuck on it just like we did last week. Take about half of a hank of Antron. I have olive here, and we're going to put that on. And we're going to take it back pretty close to the bend, about like so. Now this shank we don't want as long, because we're going to put an overwing on it. So instead of making it the length of the body, maybe make it about half or something like that. Okay. The next thing we're going to put on is to give it the look that we want. You can use either wood duck, or I have mallard feathers here. And we're going to take a few stems off of this, barbels off of this, to make our tail going off the back. And all I do is take maybe up to a half a dozen. You don't need a lot of these. Okay, something about like that. Okay, and then I'm going to tie it with the curvature down over the shuck that we put on. Tie that in pretty well. Now they might spin a little bit on you and flare a little bit. Not a huge deal. And we'll take that extra tag off. So right now we've got two pieces on, the shuck and the tail. What you use for a body is up to you. I brought along and thought we might try some turkey quills tonight. And I'm going to use a black turkey quill. Now you'll notice this has a little bit of a curvature to it, like the feathers do. I'm going to tie it with the underside or the bottom of the quill up. And the reason I'm going to do that is because when I wrap this around, it's going to give it a little bit of a rib look to it, a little rises through there. If you want it flat, turn it around and tie it with the top up, and it'll be more of a flat, smooth surface versus a rib type look. Now you can put some glue down if you want. I'm just taking this, I'm going to wrap it around so that the next wrap just covers a little bit of the previous wrap. Okay? And I'm just going to proceed up until I get to the thorax area. Now you can use hackle pliers if you want. I don't use them a lot, but you can if you want to use hackle pliers. Okay, and then I'm going to tie that off and cut my remaining so that I have a nice little shuck, a nice little tail going, and that's my body. So you see those little ribs that are sticking up? Can you see them from there? They're just little ridges. Now we're going to add the thorax, and what I'm going to use is just a little bit of dry fly dubbing. Don't need a lot. You may need a little more than this, but start off small and add if you have to. And I'm going to spin this on pretty tight, similar to how I would do it if I'm making like a little blue-winged olive and I want a tight noodle. And then I'll just go back a little ways because I need a little bit of room in the front. And basically I'm just going to go on top of the previous wrap and try to give that a little bit of, so it's a little bit pronounced.
I have a few tricks that'll help you do that.
Okay, and then I bring my thread off to the front. Okay, so we have a nice thorax build up there. Now we only have a couple of steps left to go. The next thing I'm going to do is put on my wing.
got a nice.
And I just use usually deer hair of some kind, like this, fairly straight, because we're gonna stack it, we want it to stack well.
If you look at me.
And what I'll do with this deer hair, if you try it a few times, you'll kind of get an idea how much you need.
And
But I always take a few more than I think I need because I'll end up pulling some out. Because I need to open that up and get all the fuzz out. And the reason I do that is it's not going to stack well if that fuzz is in there or a lot of loose pieces are in there. So I've got it pretty cleaned out. See, I lost a few hairs. Now I'm going to take my hackle stacker, put it in, tap it down a little bit.
Tips down or tips up?
Tips down. Tips down. Thank you. Tips down. And I'm going to try to bring it out in the direction I want to tie it so I don't have to transfer it with my fingers and it gets all messed up and I have to restack it. So hopefully I won't have to do that. And then if you have some broken pieces, you can take them out. This looks pretty good. Because my fly is small, this is a 14 hook, size 14 dry fly hook. I'm going to try to make my wing proportionate for him. I want it maybe about 2/3 of the shank length, something like that.
On the stem as long as possible.
So if you do a pinch wrap, a couple of them, and get it down so that it's right behind or in front of the thorax.
How much of this?
Okay.
So it's
So that's positioned fairly well. I'll give it a couple more. The next thing I'm going to do is get a hold of all my loose stuff in the back here.
Before you select it.
Come up underneath it
So I'm gonna pull it up to the
and cut it off about,
when they're-
oh,
it's not-
just so it covers the thorax a little bit.
Roughly.
Trim it up so it's going to look nice. Something like that.
See how it just separated? I didn't actually
Okay.
go in there and pull it
So
out.
I've got my thorax coming out the bottom. I've got a little wing stub there, I guess you'd call it.
Already on the stem, it's all nice.
And now I'm going to take and come around to the front of the wing, and I'm going to post that up a little bit.
And
And posting it up means that you're going to wrap around all the hairs
pull this material
to help pull them together.
and make a cut, giving me enough
And what you can do is go around it kind of loose, hold it, give it a little tug and snug it up a little bit, and then bring my thread back over my thorax in that space.
Material, enough buttons here to tie this down.
You have a couple that don't want to play well,
Cut it short. and
now's a
then
good time to get
the
rid of
other
them.
thing we would end up with is a hump of thread and material.
Okay.
Right here
The last thing to do
will.
is to
impede
add
nice-
our hackle, which we're going to put around the front. This happens to be done. You could use brown, black, whatever color you want to use. And I want to make sure that if I can, I'm going to, these barbules, as I wrap them around, are going to stick up about as height that I want. So I'm just going to kind of test it.
And then.
And that's pretty
the
close to
last
what I
little
want.
tip is, since we have some barring here.
So I'm going to take the heavy stuff off the back.
I'm gonna make a cut. I'm gonna cut this material off.
I'm going to rip some of these barbules off the bottom so I've got a nice wing post that I can tie to. And with the top of the feather facing me, I'm going to wrap that in this area. What I like to do is a couple around the back, bring it maybe around the front to help hold it a little bit, making sure my eye's not going to get covered, and then bring it back to that area again.
There is no addition. Wow.
Okay, so now I've got the body formed, we've got the thorax formed, we've got the wing on, we've posted the wing up a little bit to hold it together,
All right, so.
we put in our hackle.
Got these things.
So now I'm going to take and just wrap that hackle around, guide it around,
And I'm going to coax them.
oh, maybe 3-4 wraps,
into a tighter
whatever you
bundle
think you need.
in my hand. So get used to, in practice, transferring.
And then I'm going to come behind that wing that's sticking out
It's easier said than done. So
and secure that that hackle. 3 or 4 good wraps.
Right, so now, we have it.
And we're going to sneak in here and get rid of this feather, trying not to cut the hackle. Okay, my eye's pretty open. And then I'm going to take, and maybe if you want to do your
Started our thread there.
whip finish up front,
That's the start of.
or you could do half hitches too if you wanted to.
It's always about the bar, right? So when I stop my
Put
thread
it
there,
in and pull it tight.
so now I can just see me, oh, here's how much thread.
And maybe do 3 or 4 of those.
Ah, look at that. That's how long my tail needs to be. Didn't even have to think about it. Or-
And then we're going to sneak that thread off.
So there you go. So I hold the
And there you
material
have
and I
a last chance
work my
cripple.
grasp if need be, or I
So you have the nice shuck stuck in the shuck look with a short shuck,
Good enough. Now I know
some
my
mallard
point.
or some wood duck for the longer
I
tail.
Transfer the material.
I used a Biot to do the body, so I have a little ribbing effect look to it.
I'm always
We've got the thorax built up,
transferring the material.
so there's a nice colored thorax there.
Okay.
The deer hair to form the wing, and then the hackle will go around to help support it in the water.
Nice.
And what it's gonna do is it's gonna take and sit in the water something like this, because the hackle's gonna support it.
Not hard wrap.
You want that butt end in the water, and here's your wing that you can see, and follow your fly. Okay, last chance cripple. What you use for body material or thorax is up to you, colors.
Now,
So I would make these in olive color, you know, whatever's in season or hatching at the time. I made these in black to try to give it a little bit of a midge maybe look to it. You can use biots, you can use dubbing for the body if you want. You could even use some Antron yarn and tie that in and then wrap that around if you wanted to. But I like the biots because it gives it that little rib look to it.
pressure on these and kind of
Okay.
butt ends, so-
Let's go tie some flies.